So I just showed you a movie. I don't know how much of this is going to clip together with the other parts that I've been recording this morning. And today's date is early March 2023. Uh, as I said, my biggest fantasy in life is to become a movie producer as much as a comic book writer, and I'm going to write that book one day. The Exhibitionist Guide to Freedom. It's a comic book, X-rated, going to only be available in adult bookstores. So don't send your kids barking up the wrong tree by telling them that you know somebody that wrote a book, okay? It's not for anything but other than adults that are mature enough to where they want to explore their own sexuality and maybe gain some insight into why they're so screwed up like I am, okay? Uh, now, what I was talking about was the soul, and this is my concept of the soul. I base it more on logic as opposed to just blind faith. I don't believe in crowding the top of a mountain with enough rats to where just one rat triggers it and then they all run off the cliff. Now, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be part of that crowd. As a matter of fact, if I see a herd, I don't want to be part of it. I want to pull off from the herd and just watch the herd go by, and then I'm out there by myself doing my own thing. That's me. That's just the way I am. I've always been that way. I've always kind of been a loner. If I had just 5 good friends, fuck this 12 shit. I don't need 12 disciples. I need 5 good friends that I can sit down at the table and have a goddamn drink with, okay? And let's talk politics and religion, and let's work out our differences. And even if we're never going to agree, but we can at least come up with some consensus about what we think might be right. And that's drawn out on the table. And it's mapped out. And it's studied. And of course, a lot of that involves Bible studies or whatever Torah you want to bring to the table. It's fine. It's an open-ended discussion of what I call the 5 great thinkers of local people in your area. And my area is basically militaristic people that have had war experiences, the American Legion, which is my area. I've had experiences touched on it, but I've never actually had to pull the trigger to kill anybody. As far as I know, I've never actually killed anybody. But I've been part of the Green Machine that supported that war effort. We are always at war with somebody. That's what the United States does. That's how we built our country, was with war. Wars bring money, and money brings power, but it keeps reshuffling the deck about who's in power. We can't afford to continually lose wars or we'll lose our position in the world dominance. Where is this taking us? All I can tell you is 1,000,000 years from now, there probably won't even be humans on the earth. It'll be another species, and they'll be controlled by AI or something advanced. Now, there are people that they claim have come back in time using these time machines that the Germans were working on World War II, working on the time machine. And here again, I wanted to get back to the roots of knowledge itself and how that has evolved today. Einstein came up with these weird ass theories that would fill chalkbook after chalkbook after chalkboard. Chalkboard, all these mathematical formulas, shit that's so far out there, I could never even conceptualize. I barely know math. I flunked algebra. I was a terrible student in math. Why? I don't know. Maybe it has to do with my sister tossing me off that 3rd-story building and I hit my head on concrete. I think it must have done some damage to my mathematical ability. But I do know math. My creativity is on the other lobe where the creativity comes into play. Art. I'm an artist. I'm a comic book writer. I love philosophy. I love philosophy so much that I created my own school of philosophy, and I gave myself an honorary PhD. It was from Uriah-Stoffels University out of New York. Okay, it's a mail order thing. You wouldn't understand. It was my efforts in learning how to do calligraphy. Okay, and We also conducted schools in continuing ed here in Georgia for people to renew their license. My wife and I put that together. And she was the instigator that actually kept it going. She's a fucking genius. She knows things. When she reads something, she'll remember it. She can even tell you what page it's on, and recite it verbatim. She's got that photographic memory, and she is clairvoyant, totally clairvoyant. Where that gift comes from, I do not know. There must be a God out there somewhere, because she's not of this world. I call her my guardian angel. She just knows. If I ever lose anything, hide scissors under a pillow just to test her. But she'll, she looks me in the eye. She says, "Yeah, I know where they are." And I said, "How do you know?" She says, "Because I know what you know." Wow. Okay. So can you read my thoughts? She says, "Well, what are you thinking about now?" I said, "Okay, let me give a number." And I'll come up with a number, weird number, like 1.352. And I said, "Okay." And I'll write it down. I said, "Okay, what am I thinking about?" And she'll say 5.3.2. Let me show you something. This is going to surprise you. It's going to take a second. I'm off the camera. You're going to have to wait. Hang on. This is going to surprise you. Okay. Now, I'm going to demonstrate something to you that you'll think is hocus pocus, but I'm going to put it up close where you can see it. You see this dime? It's a thin dime. It's real. It's real. It's not fake. It's not a hologram. It's a real dime. Now I'm going to take this and put it right here. Can you see that? Now I'm going to show you something that's going to blow you away. It's called sleight of hand. I'm going to pull my arms up like this. And wait a minute. Let me just take my damn robe off. Okay? Now there's nothing here. Nothing. I'm going to show you how people can do miracles and pretend like they've got this godlike power brought down from heaven. But it's just really sleight of hand is all it is. Now I'm going to make this dime disappear. I'm going to do it before your very eyes. I'm only going to do one take. So record this, study it, and if you can figure it out, more power to you. I would offer a bet, but I can't afford 1 million people betting me all at one time. I don't have that kind of money. Because if I lose a bet, I'm toast. If I win the bet, I make some money. But it's not about the money. It's about the knowledge. If I ever do start a church, if I say so, which I've threatened to do a few times, I'm not going to charge money and I'm not going to accept offerings. Do you understand me? No fucking money exchanges hands in my church or for my advice. Everything I do is totally and completely free. I earn my money. But as far as giving advice or anything like that, I'm not a counselor that charges fees. I give my services free. All right, now we're clear with that. I want you to watch this dime. This is real money. Not much, but it's real. One dime is equal to what? 100 Satoshis or some such in terms of Bitcoin value, okay? Dime doesn't seem like a lot of money, but if this was a Bitcoin, it would be worth a lot of money one day. Right now, it's worth nothing. It's just a few Satoshis. That dime, if you could buy one dime of Satoshi money and save it for 100 years, of course, you're not going to live that long, but if Bitcoin is still around in 100 years, that one dime could be worth as much as $1 million. I mean, theoretically. And it's mathematics that all this stuff is based on. Then I'll explain to you why Bitcoin was put together and what purpose it's going to serve in the future. Okay? All right, now, sleight of hand. I'm going to take this glass. I'm going to put my hand in front. Now, wait a minute. I'll put my hand in front so you can't see. I'm going to take this glass. I'm going to take it over here, and I'm going to lift it up, put it over what was the dime. Now I'm going to tap this thing 3 times, and that dime is going to disappear. Watch this. 1, 2, 3. Where'd it go? Where'd the dime go? You know what? I'm not going to tell you how I did this trick because it'll make it too easy. I want you to figure out how I did this. If you think about it, you'll figure it out. And that's my lesson as far as sleight of hand. Now, the next trick I'm going to show you is how to walk on water. All right? But I'm not near a beach or near a pool or anything I can demonstrate. But everything can be done magically if you don't know how to do it. And the other guy knows. How does this guy, this one guy, I figured his name, and he can levitate himself completely off the pavement for maybe a foot or 2. How does he do that? He'll never tell. I don't know how he does it. I'm not a magician. I know a couple of card tricks, and I know that one little trick to make something disappear. Oh, by the way, it's back here behind my ear. But anyway, I'll show you things like that later. What I want to concentrate now is focus on theoretical meditation in the morning. You need to lay down for 15 minutes and just relax. Listen to ocean waves. You can pull it up on the internet, ocean waves. All you got now is my voice. So let me demonstrate something to you, and this will help you relax. Look into my eyes. Look into my eyes. Look deeply into my eyes. You're getting very, very sleepy. You know how why the hypnotist says sleepy? Because when you go into that REM phase, your mind opens up your subconscious, and your subconscious is 10 times stronger than your conscious because everything goes through your subconscious to wash your brain at night. That's why you need 8 hours sleep. Your oblongata, whatever it is back here, works in conjunction with your frontal lobe, which is your thinking part of your brain. And it causes, it's like a washing machine. You go through that REM state, and as long as you get 4 or 5 good REM washings, about an hour piece, 5 hours, you can get by on 5 hours, but to be really healthy, you need 8 hours. Some people even need 9 or 10. I'm a 10-hour guy myself. When I need really restful, I would take maybe indigo or something that would put me down under. But then I've got to allow 10 hours before I wake up because that really will relax you. And I do take drugs, okay? I can't wait till they legalize marijuana because then I'll come up with some really good shit. I've already got one recipe I'm going to call Titty's Brew because my name is Tidwell, and they used to call me Tittywell. But it's my formula. My formula. Am I going to make money at it? No, I'm not. It's going to be free. You get a free titty bottle if you come to listen to one of my sermons in person. And do I collect offerings? No. You'll get a free bottle of Titty Brew. But it's for adults only. Keep it away from the kids. As a matter of fact, we'll even offer it at the sermon. Just like the Catholicism. I'm coming up with all these weird theories. Okay, about what my church is going to be. No, I'm not going to really do that. I'm just fantasizing, okay? Now, let's pretend for a minute that we're going in that way back machine. Back to the early 1800s. Now we're in the age of Einstein when he's at his peak, 30 years old, just crossing over the boundary into the 19th century. He's already developed the theory of quantum mechanics, okay? here again, quantum mechanics. I'm just taking the same piece of paper. Let me get something to write on. Hang on. Be right back. All right, now I'm loaded for bear. You see this is a magic marker, so you can actually see what I'm writing. Excuse me. That's my breakfast food. Maybe. All right, so Einstein, everybody knows the formula. Let's talk about that formula because it's quite profound. I'm going to make sure, hopefully you can read this. Can you read that? It says E equals MC2. Are you able to see that, or is it coming in backwards? No, I think it's okay. E equals MC squared. What does that mean? What it means is this. E is energy. And energy is equivalent to M, which is mass. So if energy equals mass, let's take the example of one molecule. Let's take one little tiny molecule. Now each molecule has it's like a universe in itself, okay? There's something that revolves around, now those are called electrons. There's something in the middle, they're called, for right now, let's just say they're neutrons, okay? It's an element, a little tiny, it's the smallest element, and that's the one that they were working on for years, trying to figure out what is the smallest element. Well, they figured it out. They labeled it the atom. It's an atom. So E equals mass, which, let's condense it down to make it simple. E equals one molecule, let's say. Now you take that one molecule and you multiply that times C. Now what does C stand for? C stands for the speed of light. I'm going to be honest, I don't even know what the speed of light is, so let's just label it 1,000,000. All right, if the speed of light is 1,000,000 feet per second or whatever the hell it is, that's a high number, right? Mathematically, it's high. So this is a low number here. Math is a low, but molecule, this atom might be a little bit bigger than the unit of 1. It might be the unit of 4 or 5 or maybe 3. Let's just take 3 times 1,000,000. That's 3 million. And now let's take all that 3 million and let's square it. What's the square root? What's 1,000,000 times 1,000,000? Now you're getting into big numbers. Now we're getting something like 1,000,000,000,000. So what this says is, if you take one single molecule and you fuck with it here, you're going to get an explosion that is so freaking grandiose that it's going to blow not only this house to pieces, it's going to take out 100 square miles from this house, and it's going to level everything. Just one single molecule. Now later, 100 almost years later, because Einstein lived a pretty long life, he regretted coming up with that formula because man took that and he built upon it. The same way that if a UFO crashed anywhere in Roswell or anything like that, 100 years later, 50, we've had how long since World War II? Over half a century to reverse engineer that shit. We've got our own spaceships now. You know damn well we do. So all this thing about ghosts and UFOs, I'm sorry. I'm not convinced that it's not just something that we've come up with to scare the hell out of people. But people have always talked about ghosts. So we couldn't have done it. They haven't been around forever. I think, but the Egyptians had their own idea of ghost. And they would put a curse on something, and the people that would try to dig down in the graves, they would end up dying off. I mean, there's a lot going on that I don't know. My whole theory is this. You know what a virus is? There's a virus out there called shingles. Now, I've never had chickenpox. I had German measles, but I never had chickenpox. But if I had had chickenpox, then I would be subject to having these blisters come out on me from time to time. That's called shingles, and they've got drugs that would prevent that from happening. As a matter of fact, they've even got a vaccine to prevent it from happening. But I've seen shingles on people, and they're awful. They blister. It's like your skin has been cooked and it bubbles up and blisters out and bleeds. Oh, God damn, it's awful. Okay? So shingles is the thing. When the advertisement came out about the drug to cure it, I thought, that is an excellent way to explain something. And I'm calling it the theory of shingles. Now, I just took that same idea and I took part of it. I'm going to use it for part of my theoretical paradigm, because it's this. Look, when you're worried about you've got problems that you can't solve, ask yourself this question. Are you the only one with problems? Think about it. Are you the only one that has problems? Well, no. Right? There's other people out there that have just as much, some even worse problems than you do. But the bottom line is this. Does shingles give a damn? Hell no. Does shingles care? Shingles doesn't care about, this girl has this and this and this and this problem. This guy over here has this and this and this. But does shingles care? Look, I know a guy that was a millionaire. As a matter of fact, this is a true story. I met him at a bar recently, and I started talking my bullshit to him. And I'm for real. I really am. I really do carry credentials with me to prove who I am. The fact that I am David Tidwell. Don't fuck with me unless you want to get into some bullshit. Because I'm a little bit crazy in the head. Especially when I got off on a rabbit trail tangent like I am now. But that being said, take me and 100 more like me and spread it around the world, and everybody's in chaos, right? They're burning their buildings down. They're kicking each other's ass in the street. That's Antifa. That's a bunch of horse shit. I'll explain to you why it's horse shit in a second. It doesn't take a genius to figure that one out. But does shingles care? Does shingles really care? What do you think? It's a virus. Does it care about anything other than its own little world surviving and making more and more blisters? That's all it cares about. It's just wanting to survive. So will we be controlled by either bacteria in the future, insects of the future, or just plain old-fashioned AI? What will it be? If you take 1 billion ants and you hook them to electrodes and they all think at the same time in the same wavelength, moving in the same direction, is that not ultimate wisdom? Explain why it wouldn't be. They invade your house, Argentina ants. They've been known to take over villages in Africa, and they are now in the United States of America. Somebody's brought them over here. They're in the southern part of Mexico and also northern areas. And I'll tell you, if they hit your neighborhood, they'll know more about your particular wiring in your house and every facet of your house than you ever dreamed of. They'll become a genius of how to find food and how to get you the hell out of Dodge because it's their house. Until they feel like moving on, they won't. And there's no insecticide that can completely hose down an entire neighborhood, because they take over neighborhoods at a time, not just one house. And they're like one big brain, and they communicate with chemicals. They do it with their antennae. They smell. And when they smell it, that little tiny brain of theirs is like an AI machine. It knows and it shares with other ants. And according to Charles Lang, he wrote the book that you can order it for free on Amazon, or not Amazon, but the internet. It's called Unstoppable Prosperity. Unstoppable. And I've told this story before, and by God, I'm going to tell it one more time. Little nigger boy down there, and I'm using the N-word to illustrate. In the old days, that's the way they talked. Little nigger boy down there. I'm in a time machine 20 years ago, 50 years ago. No, that's actually, this happened 75 years ago. No. Yeah, back in 1929, when the Great Depression hit, subtract that from the year 2020. Yeah, it's been about 100 years. A fucking millennium ago. Little nigga boys down there just shining them shoes. And he did it to Rockefeller. And Rockefeller, I think it was Rockefeller, one of the billionaires that controlled 99% of everything, which is the same shit they do today. That shit's never going to change. They'll get used to it. Live with it. Okay? Shining them shoes. And the guy at the top was talking to one of his uppity people. Oh, dear, I do believe that the most famous invention in the world is fire, the wheel or the fire. I would say it's the wheel. And then his cohort, another rich guy, and the fat cats back then controlled it all. You weren't even allowed in their meetings. There's cigars, smoke-filled rooms behind closed doors. They controlled the economy back then, okay? It was a caste system. Always has been, always will be. We can call ourselves free, but we're not totally free. It's because of Mammon. The worship of Mammon and the building of dynasties will separate us, okay? People born into the upper echelon will continue to be rich. It takes money to make money. So they're talking about their money, and little shoe shine boy down there listening. It's just shining away. And they said, dear sir, and they were talking with each other, dear sir, the greatest invention of the world is the wheel. And his cohort, no. You are wrong, sir. It's fire. And he said, no, it's the wheel. He says, no, it's fire. Fire is energy, and energy is everything is based upon energy. We cannot function without energy. And the man said, well, sir, I still say it's the wheel, because without the wheel, you would be roasting in your own fire at the moment, sir. And so Lucius Shen go down there and say, hey, misters, you both be wrong. And they looked down and they said, little nigga boy, what you talking about, boy? What you talking about? You see, back then they weren't politically correct, okay? They called them like they saw them. And I have witnessed this. Myself. They were using the N-word in front of a child, and I grew up around. Atlanta didn't pick me. And I guess they did. I didn't pick it. It picked me. But I was a child, and I've seen this kind of shit happen on the streets. Atlanta grew up around me, and I watched it change. And now I've got 5 years left, about, roughly, according to doctor's orders. But to stay alive and to stay cognizant, I need to focus. And I'm telling you, I'm focusing back on that little shoe shine boy. He shined those shoes. He said, you both be wrong. So little cockroach of a boy, what are you talking about, boy? And he looked up and he said, sirs, the greatest invention of this here will be the thermos. And they looked down and they left each other and they laughed. Ho, 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 ho. What are you talking about, the thermos for, boy? And he said, well, sirs, you put liquid into this here thermos, and it know if you want to keep it hot, it put it in there, and it stay hot. If you want to put cold water, something with ice in it, you put it in the thermos, and it know to keep it cold. And they looked at each other and said, little black boy, tell us, What the hell does that have to do with anything like important stuff like the wheel and the fire? And he said, hey, sirs, how do it know? That's not the end of the story. Both of them were so pissed off, they went hand in hand with each other back down to Wall Street. They both cashed in all their chips. They said, crash the market. And it did. It created the United States was the world's number one power, and they went bust. The Great Depression hit, and it went for 20 years or so. I don't know, maybe 10 years before it recovered. I think it was Roosevelt that came up with a great plan. I'm not a history buff, but I'm telling you, it took a long time to recover from that. It made it to where money was worthless because nothing was worth anything. They didn't, you couldn't invest anywhere because everything had gone bust. Because the 99% of the economy had just been liquidated. Mm-hmm. But you know what these two guys did? They were smart. They had their own strategy long term. Everything was so cheap back then when it went bust. They were buying up property for pennies on the dollar. And they snarfed up as much as they could so that when the economy finally came back, now this time they weren't just billionaires, they were trillionaires. Now they controlled about half the United States economy, and they were in total control. And those dynasties are still being passed on today. So if you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth, and it may be just somebody that you know that has talked about this, oh, I just had a pitiful million and turned it into a billion, or, made it a trillion. Yeah, but he still had money to start with. Do you have money? Do I have $1 million? You have to have a nest egg to start with. And it has to be about $1 million freaking dollars before you can do any real innovation. Otherwise, you got to go out and raise funds and find, investors. And they'll end up taking your business away from you and selling it. So you don't want to do that. Keep your own business. We're a free country, but we're being taxed to death. And we're being taxed by giants in Wall Street, married up with giants in the government. And in my opinion, the pyramid of big business versus big government, they're the same because they have come together. Come together right now over me. The Beatles, if you listen to their lyrics, it's not just about sex, it's about power. Money and power. And when a man possesses that much power and that much money, what happens to his brain? He starts thinking, I'm a god. I'm a god. And people start treating him like he's a god, because some people will literally sell their souls for a piece of meat if it means starving to death or dying. There are very few freedom fighters out there that will fight to the death and starve themselves completely into oblivion just to, maintain their morals, their standards. The worst thing that can happen to a man my age would be to have a kid that would run out and get a girl knocked up and not marry her. That would be the worst thing that I can imagine. I mean, it says in the book of I Say So, and I'm talking about the Bible now. In Deuteronomy 23, open it up. In the 3rd verse, I think it is, a bastard shall not enter into the house of God even until his 10th generation. Okay, do I really believe that? No, but it's tradition. And I was raised to believe that, even though my parents wouldn't ever try to live up to their own standards. They preached it, and I believe it. I've never lived up to it. And that's the whole purpose of religion, is not to necessarily be Jesus, but to be like Jesus. The only problem is Jesus was not the first Jesus to come down the block. There was Horus before him. There was Buddha before that. And there were other similar gods that were very close to being Jesus-like. So when Jesus came down the pike and died 20, 30, 40 years after his death, then they started writing about him. That's the New Testament. And the Catholic Church was built for the purpose of bringing order into chaos. In other words, the world will go chaotic without any law and order because people are too stupid. They go back to the id. Freud labels us as having three parts to our brains: the id, something else, and then the id and the Odyssey. Let's see the book. Anyway, you've got good and evil within your body. It's already there. You can't help it. And so to label yourself as demonic, all that means is that you're operating in an id level. To label yourself as a saint would mean that you're operating strictly in your frontal lobes, or maybe involving some creative cognition and putting it all together and realize it's not about money. It's about friends. You need at least 5 good friends. If you don't have 5 good friends, you might as well take your hand to a gun and put it to your face, because your life is not worth living unless you have friends. Get yourself some friends. 5 friends is all you need to stay healthy mentally. And they're hard to come by. As you get older, your friends, I used to have this many friends until I started dying. Now I've got one good friend left. And you know who that is. It ain't Jesus. It's my wife. God must have brought her down to me to help me survive in this world. And she's helped me through thick and thin. God bless her. She keeps saying she's going to write that book, and she won't write it because I know a lot of it's going to be about me, and she's afraid I'll get my hands on it and blow my lid. I'm not going to do it, Janet. I'm not going to do it. You're too talented to let your talents go to waste, and that would be my greatest dream of all. And you know what? Just to show you what a nice guy I am, I'm going to show you that trick. You know, remember the trick where the dime disappeared? Yeah, I'll demonstrate to you. Remember that trick where I showed you the dime disappeared? Watch this. Can you see that? This is to show you it's all illusion. Watch what happens. I'm going to tap it 3 times and make it come back. But I'm going to show you why it came back. This is why it came back. You can make that yourself. There's your dime. Now, I want you to think about what you do when you wake up in the morning, what your purpose in life is. And we're getting back to the same old PPP plan. You remember, my rules are never pass up a restroom because you got a PPP. Remember it that way. That's rule number 1. Number 2, I know my purpose in life because I'm striving toward my own personal recipe purpose. You got to establish your own recipe purpose. Why were you put on this earth? What do you want that destiny to be? That's your purpose. But now your process means you got to come up with a plan and you got to map it out. That's your process, okay? And then your final P, and I stole this from an insurance company, by the way. It's the same one that I'm training with now. That's your payoff there. So you got PPP, purpose, process, and payoff. And your payoff is going to be this. Whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, if you work hard enough, you may not get all of it, but you'll get a good smell or taste of it. And that's really what keeps me going, is knowing that I know I can do it. And you can too. So brothers and sisters, take my advice. Just relax, be yourself, and stay motivated. Read good books. Get out the Bible. Read about Revelation, about things that are going to happen. It will scare the bejesus out of you. Listen, y'all be good. And can I hear an amen? I'm not hanging up until I hear an amen. Come on now. Can I hear an amen? Say, amen, David. I still can't hear it. You're going to be stuck with me for a while. I can't hear you. That's what they said when I was joining the Army. They lined us up. Old Sergeant Ernie came down. Get that movie. Full Metal Jacket. God damn, it's a good movie. Anyway, it reminds me of my boot camp days. But listen, I've wasted too much of your time. I want to wish you all a good day, like Paul Harvey said, and I'll say it again. This is David Tidwell signing off. A good day.